What's up? Welcome back to Max Marquee Matchup, man. We are back here for week 6 with what I think is going to be one of the games of the year, point blank period. I am so excited for this matchup. We've got two incredible quarterbacks, two quarterbacks that are playing incredibly well, two teams that are also at the top of their standings within Division 2. So I'm looking forward to it. We do have returning guests to Max Marquee Matchup. My man from Facts and Stats, Mr. Everett Jr. Welcome in. Back as a Ravens fan to represent his squad in Baltimore. Back at home in the bank. And also alongside, we have a new face to Max Marquee Matchup, a good friend of mine, Mr. Mander Manny himself, representing the Commanders. Fellas, how are y'all doing today?
I'm great, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I think my third time here since you started this, but that's a blessing. And it's always good when you're a fan of the best team, if not one of the best teams in the league. So that's why I'm here. Yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I can't complain. I had my expectations low for the Commanders, and they definitely are exceeding it right now. So I'm in a good spot right now. No matter what happens this game, I think I'll be okay with it.
Excellent. Look, it's one of those early season kind of matchups, a nice little measuring stick. Certainly a little bit more for the Commanders side. Ravens established team. Commanders, kind of blowing up the spot to this point in the season. But I will say this is an interesting matchup. These teams are incredibly close in proximity, and I did not put this on the rundown specifically because I wanted to ask you guys and get a genuine reaction to this. Did you guys know that this was called the Battle of the Beltway?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a thing for you guys because I had never heard of it before this week. Yeah. I've never heard of it one time before this week.
Yeah, even with the preseason, media outlets would be like, Battle of the Beltway. So anytime, because even though we would play like once every 4 years, I think they would even get to the preseason matchups too as Battle of the Beltway. So
majority of people from the area. I seen some people on Twitter that I was a little confused about it. They didn't know about it, but majority of people from the area, they know it's called Battle. They know it's Battle of the Beltway. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. For those that do not know, both of these great people are from the DMV. Place that's near and dear to my own heart, so certainly appreciate the DMV in of itself. But I had never heard of it before that. Now that I think about it, actually, Dominique Foxworthy did mention there was a story about him playing the Commanders, I think, when he was on the Ravens and what they used to do during preseason about that bet, which was a funny story, I will say. I think him and Bomani Jones had about that. But yeah, man, look, I had never heard of it, but I'm glad that this edition of it is going to be an extremely fun game between two, what is now you have to say marquee quarterbacks. One on the Commander side, Jaden Daniels, obviously rookie, a guy that stormed on the scene within his first 5 games, and Lamar Jackson, multiple-time MVP, one guy that's been a megastar on this stage for years now established, and one that has earned his place there by excellent play year after year from that standpoint. And now you're talking about these two teams going at it. So I wanted to kind of start from the aspect of those quarterback parallels and kind of talk about being the face of a franchise and what that truly means, how that can kind of change the culture of your team in and of itself. And so with the established team, talking about the Ravens specifically first, the idea of when Lamar Jackson was picked, obviously the end of the first round, there's a situation coming off of Joe Flacco coming to the end of his tenure. Obviously, he started the majority of Lamar's rookie year. Obviously, Lamar kind of came in. There was talk about John Harbaugh and the fact that his job possibly was on the line. And we know how Lamar was able to help turn around that season, get them into the playoffs. And now they've established themselves as contenders for years to come with his excellent play. So transforming for probably the majority of your life as a Ravens fan, Ev, the defensive identity of this team to now it was a little bit of transitionary period out of the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed era, going down the hill with Joe Flacco to what Lamar Jackson's Ravens has really become. Speak to how he has kind of changed the face of not only the franchise, but also the city and the identity of fun offensive football that he's brought with it to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, man. I mean, we never had fun offensive football. I've been a Ravens fan 20 plus years. And I'm not going to say never had, but what we experienced now over the last 6 years, I would say, it never reached these heights. I'm going to be completely honest. It was fun watching Steve Smith Sr. and Ray Rice before his incident, and Anquan Boldin and Torrey Smith, right? It was a good watch, but the heights that we've reached with Lamar Jackson, we never reached it. Lamar Jackson immediately changed the city of Baltimore. He brought a lot of new fans to Baltimore. And everything just feels different, man. It feels different. It's a blessing. I go into every game every single Sunday feeling like my team is going to win. And look no further than what he did for us last Sunday. So, I mean, it's a blessing, man. I'm thankful when we traded up, I was super happy, and the impact is felt, amongst all fans, and it helped balance the offense. Now I think more people were watching Ravens game, especially us as fans. We watched every single Ravens game knowing our defense was going to put on a show. Now we watch games, well, not this season so far, but typically over the last 5 years, we watch games knowing our offense and defense is going to put on a show. So that's how I look at it now. So shout out to Lamar Jackson, man. I'm just blessed to be a Ravens fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, like you said, talk about sometimes maybe this season to start out a little bit one-sided, but to your point, being able to have, that face of the franchise and what it could do, to be able to tell you every single Sunday that guy is going to give us a chance to win. That is a privileged place to be as a football fan from that aspect. And like you said, no, you don't have to look any further than what happened last Sunday from that aspect as well. And so transitioning in, obviously, Commanders coming off of what was really a poor era under Ron Rivera. Never could really get sustained success. Couldn't grab that traction to be able to build a winner. But sometimes you got to go down into the depths to be able to build that hope back up. And obviously, the Commanders have gone through a long cycle of maybe those depths from that aspect. But this offseason was full of a lot of celebration, a lot of hype from the standpoint of new ownership, new quarterback coming in, draft was hyped. And now this is a situation in which Jay Daniels has come in, been the face of the franchise, and got you guys off to an incredibly hot start because of the explosive offense that he's brought to the table. So, Manny, just talk about bringing hope back to DC in the form of Jaden Daniels, parallel to what you guys were just dealing with a few months ago, and now what you feel like it means every single Sunday being able to tune into Commanders football.
Yeah, so I think last year we kind of try to have hope a little bit with Sam Howell starting the year because we kind of had no other option, nowhere else to go, nowhere else to look towards. So when Sam started out and playing well, at least better than what a 5th round pick would play like, we kind of had hope that he could have been just at least sustainable, like a sustainable quarterback for maybe a year or two. Until we find that franchise quarterback, because we've been searching for a while, and we just been trying to patch with temporary band-aids, veterans, off the street quarterbacks like Heineke. But now it's like we actually had a premium pick. We're not going to spend it on a defensive tackle or a defensive end. We're going to spend it on the face of the franchise, the person that we're going to expect to lead our franchise the next couple of years. And there was a little bit of debate about who we should go with. Caleb obviously going number 1. And then there was a debate of whether we should trade up to 1 to get Caleb, because that was kind of the the narrative with him being from the area. But we went with Jaden. That was their guy from the start. A lot of people on the staff had him ranked higher than Caleb, so it was like there was no coming off that spot. Apparently Drake May wasn't as much as an option as I thought. I wouldn't have minded either of them, but Jaden obviously has that dynamic factor to him, where not only is he gifted with his legs, but his arm ability too. It just attracts you to watch those games, and I think he can really just change an offense where to the point where it revolves around him. He's not really like a flashy guy outside the media. So it's like he just lets his play do the talking, and I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you talk about what Jaden brings to the table, his extensive college career, and I think that's prepared him for this moment where you talk about obviously a certain level of maturity coming into it. It's not about what is going on off the field. It's about going in and getting the job done from that standpoint. And like you said, there was a lot of debate, whether it was Drake May, whether it was trade up for Caleb Williams, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously your front office, you guys had the confidence of it, going out and getting Cliff Kingsbury to run an offense that Jay Daniels could step into from day one and be comfortable in. All of those things have combined to what has been, a great start for you guys in Commanderland, man. So it's been fun to watch. I got to admit, as somebody that was a little bit skeptical of the Jay Daniels pick and did very much like Drake May in addition to Caleb Williams, but he has come in and done special things, especially deep down the field outside the numbers, which was kind of to be expected given his profile. But he's also been incredible inside the numbers, which has been spectacular. And we know what the dynamicism that he brings with his legs. And honestly, I'm most happy for Terry McLaurin because he deserves to have a good quarterback for how much he had to go throughout all of those years. So getting into this specific matchup, of course, the Commanders versus the Ravens. And I think this is going to be an extremely fun matchup. you're going to get a lot of fireworks, in my opinion. These are two defenses that, are favored to give up some points from that aspect. And these are two offenses that are rolling with quarterbacks at the helm that present a lot of different problems from that standpoint. And that's before you get into the run game, which for both of these teams is also rolling on top of it. So there's a lot of problems to present, and we'll start specifically from the matchup of that Commanders offense led by Jaden Daniels versus this Ravens defense. And look, the question I got for you, Manny, there's a lot of things that it feels like maybe Jay Daniels is making up for it. There's a lot of questions about the offensive line coming into this, what the system was going to look like, secondary pass catchers after trading away Jahan Dotson to start in the preseason. From your standpoint, what do you feel like specifically he's brought to the table in being able to maybe cover up from that aspect, whether it's the offensive line or maybe the secondary pass catchers, and being able to elevate those guys' game and really attack defenses at high level?
Yeah, so I think, going into this season, our offensive line was probably the biggest question mark, especially since we felt like we didn't really do enough in the offseason to address that. So we have Brandon Coleman at left tackle now. We still have Andrew Wiley, who, I'm pretty sure 80% of our fan base wanted arrested. But, he's actually, well, the grades, I'll say the grades, they look well. They're not, the offensive line aren't really, giving up too many pressures. But Jaden is helping a lot with that. I think his ability to extend plays, I think now he's, looking downfield still when he's rolling out of the pocket, or even before then when he's, just checking the, like he'll move receivers around and see what the coverages are. He's dissecting it pre-snap, and I think that's an important part. It helps the ball get out quickly, and I think that we're seeing that a lot. So we don't really see him get pressure too much, which is a good thing, because we don't really know how our offensive line is outside of maybe 2 or 3 starters there. So it's still a big question mark, but I like the way they're playing right now, and the way Jaden's able to, extend the plays and, dissect things pre-snap. I think he has control of the offense, and it's really been able to mask a lot of potential issues that we saw last year.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was interested to see him coming into the year, because it wasn't something that he specialized in necessarily throwing on the run. He was a good scrambler in college, but he, didn't have to throw on the run a lot. But yeah, I think that's also worked to your advantage in that, the actual offensive line is top 5 as far as pass block win rate, which is only measuring within that first 2.5 seconds. And that means if your quarterback is operating on time on a consistent basis, that means your offensive line is doing its job from that standpoint. And that's what Jaden Daniels has done. Extremely confident in the pocket, and he's been able to elevate his game to be able to make those secondary pass catchers, not just Terry McLaurin, work with Zach Ertz, Diane Brown. We saw get into it a little bit of Mr. McCaffrey also as well. So been interesting to see from that standpoint. As far as this specific matchup is concerned, on the other side of the ball, of course, talking about the Ravens, again, coming off of the struggles versus Cincinnati. Ev, what do you think so far? It's a 2-part question. What do you think is the biggest difference in what the defense looked like to end last year, in which we know it was playing an extremely high level under Mike McDonald? We know McDonald moved on to Seattle. And the second part is, what do you think is the viability of actually fixing those struggles to make sure that this defense is ready to compete come playoff time to get you guys where you do want to go as far as the Ravens are concerned?
I think the biggest issue from end of last year coming into this season, or what the defense looked like last year coming to or how it's been looking like so far throughout the first 5 weeks, is really rookie defensive coordinator. It's not easy to step in, and obviously we have talent on the defensive side of the ball, but it's not easy to step in and scheme and call the right plays and do different things on the fly. So I think what he did this past week, or what we did this past week, we actually brought Dean Pease in for a senior advisor to help out Zach Ward, and I think that's going to be really, 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 really key. So he's now like just basically, he can have somebody to look to for advice or assistance, I would say. I do think the defense is going to pick back up. I think a lot of our defenses, when I look at the All-22, and also talking with Z-Farm, my brother, another Ravens fan, it's a lot of just blown coverages. So it's a lot of guys that's not doing the right things or being in the right spot. It's not like we're just looking, well, that can lead to us looking bad. But it's like we can improve on that. Let me say that. That takes a lot of film work. That takes communication. That takes trust. So I think Zach is going to get the guys rocking and rolling later on in the week. Honestly, probably not this week, but later on in the season, I meant to say week 9, week 10. I think defense going to be looking good as it did last year. Because like I said, the talent is still there. We have an outstanding rookie in Nate Wiggins, who's been holding his own on the outside for the most part, allowing us to have Marlowe in the slot. I'm just more so disappointed with Brandon Stevens right now, but I'm pretty sure Brandon Stevens will up his play as well. We have a tough matchup on Terry McLaurin coming up. So Yeah, man, I think the defense will pick up eventually. And again, like I said, it was mainly for me a rookie defensive coordinator. This is a guy that's a rating. He played for us. He was a phenomenal linebacker. But it's not easy stepping in and having to be the head guy and being a defensive coordinator. He realized that pretty quickly. So we brought Dean Pease.
Yeah. And look, like to your point, as far as defensive coordinators are concerned, especially when you're bringing in a brand new one, being able to sequence plays consistently, be able to get guys in the right, obviously matchups, and then just generally speaking, not having those blood coverage is an incredibly difficult thing to have on a consistent basis. It just is. You have to kind of rejigger what these guys have done, what they were last year, and to make sure that you're keeping them on track from that aspect. And we've seen, unfortunately, there have been those leaks from this standpoint as well. The one thing that I will say that is an advantage for you guys is at least there have been opportunities for you guys to make teams kind of one dimensional. You guys have been very good as far as the run defense is concerned. And even when teams do decide to drop back and pass, you guys having a lot of separation. Now, this flip side of that is, of course, Jaden Daniels and this, honestly, the entire Commanders receiving core at this point has been very good as far as tight window throws. They still are able to convert those things because of Jaden's accuracy and their willingness to kind of hang in there and make those tough catches. So, look, it's a difficult matchup from that aspect, but I think to your point is this is one of those things for a defense that has a rookie defensive coordinator. It's got to get better over time. And we'll see. This is obviously a major step up. And look, the reality of the situation is even if you get this offense behind the sticks, they still I think they're the leader as far as EPA per play on third and long. And one of the things that they've been able to do is help out Brandon Coleman, their rookie left tackle. The Commanders have given him chip held as necessary, specifically in difficult matchups like matchup one-on-one with Myles Garrett, as you see in this first play. Next play, again, wide receiver to his side, going to give chip help, and then they're also going to get the ball out of Jane Daniels' hands on a consistent basis very quickly, which is a staple of Cliff Kingsbury's offense, but certainly is something that they've emphasized to make sure that their offensive line is in a positive position to block. Again, this offensive line has been top 5 as far as pass block win rate. That's only for the first 2.5 seconds of the play. And that's important to make sure, hey, we're getting the ball out of Jaden Daniels' hands, making sure these guys aren't exposed. And that's helped to build the confidence of their rookie left tackle. And this includes also just having a running back to the side of Myles Garrett locked up one-on-one with Brandon Coleman simply as a threat and it changes Myles Garrett's pass rush plan. But so ultimately speaking, Jaden Daniels getting the ball out has been the biggest key here, first and foremost. You can make them at least, play with one hand but tied behind their back. Then you have a chance on defense, no matter who your matchup is. But this certainly is not an easy one from that standpoint. And flipping sides, we know all of the challenges that Lamar Jackson does to present an offense, and he has, his brand new shiny weapon right next to him in the backfield with Derrick Henry, of course. We saw them absolutely dominate the Cowboys, which is the last time I believe that we ended up speaking specifically of. And obviously, we know there's a cast of characters that revolve around this team that have been able to, contribute to this offense, whether it's Kolar, obviously Andrews, likely, who had the big first week. Obviously, we see Zay Flowers really kind of break out a little bit last game and be able to break free from that standpoint. Offensive line's been a little bit up and down, but still been able to be mitigated. Justice Hill and Derrick Henry have found their kind of rhythm as far as a 1-2 punch, being able to be coordinated well by Todd Monken. The one guy I do want to pinpoint, and then I'll have you talk about kind of the rest of the characters from this aspect, is our guy Rashad Bateman. Actually playing well, fulfilling the promises, the prodigal son showing up, man. Yeah. I know you're happy to see it. He's made some plays throughout this year. And I've been like, there's the guy that I was excited about as a prospect coming out of Minnesota. So talk to me about what you've seen from Rashad Bateman to this point. And then also specifically just in general, how Lamar Jackson has really been able to use the secondary characters around what you knew what Zay Flowers was going to be coming into this season.
Yeah. I see a guy that's healthy. For one, got screws out of his foot, so he's able to move way better. Sort of kind of seeing year 1, year 2 earlier on for Rashad Bateman, where he had some eye-popping in games and looked like a first-round wide receiver. So I'm seeing a guy that's healthy, right? I'm seeing a guy that semi-getting an opportunity and also gaining more trust with his quarterback. Looking back to a big third-down throw Lamar did and converted with him last week against Cincinnati. I see that trust coming. Also seeing a clip of Lamar talking to Bateman on the sideline like, yo, do what you did in practice, and I'm going to give you the ball where they go cover 0 again. So you can see that trust is starting to build back up. You can see that relationship is starting to build back up. And everybody, we all love Rashad Bateman. They all love Rashad Bateman in the locker room. So I'm seeing a guy that's healthy. I'm seeing a guy that's looking like a first-round draft pick. And I'm seeing a guy that's accelerating his role that he's in. He's got the first option on offense. He's got the second option on offense. But when the ball is coming to him, he's doing his best to try to deliver. So they got about 2 or 3 touchdowns on the season. I want to say 2. Only 13 receptions. No. more than 13 receptions. I'm sorry, 13 targets.
Mhm.
So the targets are not all the way there yet, but it's coming. 22 targets. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 22 targets, 13 receptions. So I was right. So the trust is still gaining a little bit, coming up a little bit, but I'm happy, man. As far as everybody else on the offense, listen, it's beautiful. One, shout out to the Commanders. You know, they're the first, they're the lead the league in points per game, but we're right there. We're number 2. I think they're at 31. We're at 29. So it's gonna be a fun game. It's fun game. 2 phenomenal quarterbacks. I just became a super Jaden Daniel fan this year, and it's crazy now we got to play him this week. And what I like about it most, before I get to the other team, other guys on the team, Lamar and Jaden like each other. They rock with each other. I know they're going to do a jersey exchange, and it's beautiful because I think the city or that DMV area, Baltimore not the DMV, but that DMV area, we need young, talented black quarterback leading our organizations, in my opinion. Robert RG3 could have, should have, would have. You know what happened? Actually, we're the team that freaking hurt him. Sad to hear. I remember, but yeah, Lodi hit him pretty good. But outside of Rashad, man, we're loaded. And I think people are so surprised by how our offense is looking right now, mainly with the tight ends. It's not Mark Andrews. We need 50 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards. We need 8 receptions, 7 receptions, 6 receptions. It's Isaiah Likely. Last week, we seen Charlie Kohler. We seen Derrick Henry be effective. And then the guy that we just extended earlier this year, Justice Hill. 3-year, $15 million, I think. We're seeing his impact on the game, whether that's running or receiving or even pass blocking. So Derrick Henry, I don't really have to explain or even elaborate or anything like that. I mean, it's Derrick Henry. I love him. Scored in every single game this year. He's scoring this weekend. His line is ridiculous, so I'm not betting it. He's scoring this weekend, and yeah, man, I'm excited. And I said earlier during the show, my show like 2-3 weeks ago, that you see the Ravens shifted their offense to run. Lamar Henry. Both of those guys are top 10 rush yards right now. Period. Run. Against Cincy, we seen balance. Cincy, we seen Derrick Henry take over the game or finish the game in the fourth quarter. I mean, overtime. We seen Lamar be effective on the ground, but then we seen 4 or 5 different guys have 3 or more receptions. Isaiah Likely had 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews was effective in the passing game. Charlie was effective in the passing game. Rashad Bateman had a touchdown. And Zay Flowers killed them. So that's 6 different guys had an impact on our offense. And I didn't even include Justice Hill. So we were damn good. So we're shifting to a balanced style and a balanced structure, which I think will be more important in the playoffs or getting to the playoff time. We don't need, in my opinion, right now, even Nelson Aguilar has some big catches that week against Cincy as well. We don't need an elite pass catcher. We just got to stay true to ourselves, in my opinion, because we have good pass catchers. A lot of different guys that can catch a lot of balls and make plays with it as well. So I love our offense, man. I love our offense, and I can't wait.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a fun game, as you alluded to, certainly. But your point is well taken. Look, this is why you guys brought in Todd Monken, to diversify the offense, to have the balance, to be able to attack teams through the air and on the ground from that aspect. And you got to give a big shout out to what Justice Hill's been able to do this year, certainly justifying that new deal. And sure. And look, after week 1, I had the question marks of is there too much siloing of the offense based on who Henry or Hill was on the field, certainly. But to this point, what you guys have been able to do in subsequent weeks is be able to make sure that's not a tell for defenses to key in on. Keeping the defense on their toes, not giving away what you're doing with either one of these running backs has been key to the Ravens having the best run game in the National Football League and having the top 3 offense to this point. Again, you're going to see Justice Hill line up here. Nice little read option, gets a simple run up the middle for 7 yards against the base defense out of a heavy personnel bunch set from the late Ravens look on offense. But being able to run the ball consistently with Justice Hill and being able to get explosive pass games with Derrick Henry on the field has been key to this point. Going to see a read option, which also adds a different wrinkle to this. Lamar Jackson gets a pulling left tackle and left guard, and this is a chunk run from Lamar Jackson. So again, being able to run the ball effectively and then go ahead and get explosive pass games with Derrick Henry coming off of play action from the aspect. You'll see 2 tight ends out there. Ricard comes into the fullback position, shows you a run look. Zay Flowers deep out. Lamar Jackson puts it on him, and that's an easy chunk play from that aspect. And then we're going to get into the next play where the Bengals are going to present with 4 linebackers on the field and 4 defensive linemen. And guess what? Charlie Kolar is going to go ahead and get you a chunk play, at a straight drop back from under center because of the threat of Derrick Henry in the backfield, but also because of pinpoint Lamar Jackson pass. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're good. I feel like I didn't really. You good.
No,
I just want to say one more thing, man. Listen.
Yeah.
Commander fans, I'm going to look at right now on this one. It's a 2-score game. We're winning by 10 or more, I promise you. Listen, I know the shift. When the mark shifts, I know when it's coming. I promise you, when we went down and we lost to the Chiefs and we lost to the Raiders, that shift came. Like people are like, oh, I got the Bills coming up. Ed, what's going to happen? What are you going to say if y'all drop to this? What are you going to say if y'all go to 1-4? The shift happened. Commander fans, I rock with y'all, I rock with Jaden Daniels, but it's not going to be. It's not going to go as y'all think. It's 10 more, I promise you. One, I spoke to how both teams are leading the league in scoring, but we're the best rushing defense, period. We average 200 plus yards a game rushing. You guys average about 180 rushing. We allow 60 yards rushing. You guys allow 100 plus. So I see ways where we can make more stops defensively because you guys don't have to depend on Jaden, which is a good guy to depend on, whether his arm or his legs. But B-Rob, who's banged up coming into this game, that Jeremy McNichols guy, he's looking pretty good in his opportunity. And Austin Eckler has been pretty damn good for y'all too. He missed one game with concussion, but outside of that, he's taking kick returns. He's a kick returner for you guys. He's your running back. He's also a pass catcher out the backfield for Jaden. But more thoughts into the game. How you guys are going to stop the ground? And you guys have one of the worst secondaries in the league. Like what do you think Zay Flowers is going to do? He just torched Cincy and what they have over there. So it's going to be even worse for it. Not even worse. It's just going to look the same. So I just want to get that out there real quick because I looked at the agenda. I'm like, whoa. I get these comments. I want to make sure that I'm not missing nothing. I know we're gonna get to the slow stuff later on, but yeah, I had to get that out real quick, man. Manny, I'm talking directly to you and the Commander fan. 10 or more, I promise you. I'm not gonna lie to you, Manny. 10 or more.
Now look, Ev is 1-1 on his predictions on this specific program. He did pick his team to week 1, but he did also say he was going to dominate the Cowboys, so we know how that game went. So I got to hand to Ev. You said you would run all over him, and that's exactly what y'all did. I mean, obviously, we know how it ended. We know how it, it got a little hairy then, but it just made it for good TV. That's all that happened. But no, I appreciate it absolutely. Like I was saying, look, you guys have done a good job at balancing the defense. And look, this is balancing your offense. This is an extremely difficult matchup for the Commanders defense. That's why I think this is going to be a high-flying game. I think both offenses have an advantage, but certainly the Commanders defense hasn't presented many, I would say, answers, I'll say, outside of what was a poor Deshaun Watson performance last week and a Browns offense that is sputtering, to say the least. We'll leave it at that. So, Manny, I have one question for you and then have another one afterwards. First, obviously, we've heard about how bad this defense is. We've watched it. Is there anybody that stood out to you coming into this year or, throughout this year to start out that you're like, okay, that guy, maybe we can have him, move forward and see him as a building block in the future? And secondarily, which do you feel like is more important to try and stop, the pass or the run? I know it seems like a very simple question, but it's an incredibly difficult one to try and take. But which one do you think you have a chance at trying to stop from that standpoint?
All right. So to answer the first part, I think a guy that really stood out is Frankie Louvu. I think, that guy's is a monster. The way he flies all over the field, and you see his energy, you see his effort every play. He's always around the ball. He's always trying to be around the ball. So I think that impressed me a lot. I kind of knew who he was already coming in, but the fact that we were able to see that instantly, and it's kind of infectious to the rest of the team. Now we have Bobby too. I think we already knew what we're going to get with Bobby, that he's not in his prime, but he was still able to, be a leader on that defense in that second level, because compared to what we've been having at linebacker the past couple of years, that is a significant upgrade just with him alone. But then with Frankie too, I think that really changes, that second level for us. I won't say stopping the run is more important. I think, we'll be able to contain Derrick Henry on a couple plays, but it's not really the couple plays that we're going to be worried about. Is, as the game goes along, Derrick Henry's going to wear down your defense. And then you also have to worry about Lamar. So I think we're still working on our missed tackling issues. So I think that's a big part that's going to be put on the test. Because when we have those one-on-one matchups, those one-on-one opportunities with Lamar, are we going to get him down? With Derrick Henry, how is it going to take, 2 or 3 broken tackles to get him down? I think if we're able to, clean up the missed tackles, I think we'll be able to, actually present, make the Ravens, work a little bit on offense because, you know, our secondary is a problem. I'm starting Rashad Bateman in all of my leagues that I have him in, so I don't have to say anything there. Same with Zay Flowers, that's automatic. I don't think, you know, even if our secondary does play well, I think he'll still be, you know, that security blanket for Zay just because for Lamar, just because they're on the same page a lot sometimes. And I think, you know, Rashad Bateman is kind of building that trust too. So I think our corners are going to be put to the test a little bit. But it's really going to be our safeties too, as long as we kind of keep the big plays to a minimum. I think you know we'll try and make it a little bit tougher than it should be, whereas everybody's expecting, at least on the defensive end.
Yeah, look, I'll say this, and you know, it takes me back to 2018, in which we had, you know, was an extremely explosive offense, but our defense, coached by Bob Sutton, was completely awful. It just couldn't stop a nosebleed, no matter what happened, as far as that's concerned. But it was one of those things where it was like, sometimes you got to live in a gash or be gash type of world. I think that the Ravens defense is maybe a little bit more built to live in that world, where it's like, we're going to come after you. We're going to attack you. We're going to bank on trying to get 1 to 3 negative plays that will get us off the field or create a turnover that ultimately will put us ahead in the game. Dan Quinn is not necessarily always lived in that world. He showed a little bit with the Cowboys before he came over, but it wasn't something that I always thought that he could really go to as far as a game plan switch up. So from that aspect, I think this is going to come down to which defense wants or is comfortable, I guess, in a certain respect, and being uncomfortable and saying, hey, we might give up some big plays, but if we can create those 1 to 3 negative plays that gets us off the field or gets a turnover back in the hands of our offense that we know is going to put points on the board, that's what's going to end up changing the game from that standpoint. And look, Louver is a guy, he had 2.5 sacks last week versus the Cleveland Browns. He's a guy you kind of allow to fly around, to your point that you said, because Bobby's going to be the more steady, you know, cerebral guy next to him from that aspect. There are going to have to be plays created, whichever defense is going to end up creating at least 1 to 2 stops that's going to end up making a difference in this game. But ultimately, obviously, we think that there's going to be a lot of points put up on the board. And along those lines, obviously, I did ask for our weekly segment as far as best bets for this game coming up is concerned. I'll go ahead and lead it all off. The two that I'm specifically looking at, along the lines, again, of these quarterbacks being extremely effective and having a showcase game. There's a FanDuel specific special that is JD and Lamar to combine for 500 plus passing yards. I think both of these teams are going to be able to get after it in the air. That's plus 210. I like that bet from that standpoint as well. And then the other guy, I think that there is an opportunity down when you get into the red zone. Isaiah likely can be a factor. He's plus 270 for an anytime touchdown. So those are the two plays that I'll be personally looking at as well. Ev, go ahead and hit us with your best bets for this game.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at predicting Ravens stats.
You are.
Definitely my Ravens. Anytime Ravens play somebody, I always make the same game parlay. I'm pretty good in that department as well. And this is definitely going to be a fun game to bet on. It's a lot of good lines, in my opinion. I mean, look no further than this. My first one is a smash hit. 2, actually, both of them. Zay Flowers over 4.5 receptions. Without a doubt, I'm not questioning that. No brainer. Might get that in the first half. My second is Zay Flowers over 54.5 receiving yards. Again, I'm heavy on Zay today. And I'm actually going to double back and stick with Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews has 3 receptions again this week. Mark Andrews going over 2.5. That's plus money as well. I like that. That's Mark. And I'm doubling up on Zay. Zay receptions and Zay receiving yards.
Okay, I like those bets. Look, we had a lot of fun on Sunday, making allusions to Mark Andrews getting over those 3 catches. Oh man, it was just like, oh, there's Mark Andrews, he's alive, man. It's good to see that he lives. But shout out to Mark Andrews. I like both of those. I like those plays. I do think that Zay will certainly have a good day. He does have a mismatch with the Commander secondary, to say the least. Manny, what are you looking at as far as best bets are concerned for this game?
Well, like I told you earlier, I think it's going to be a Rashad Bateman game. I think Zay Flowers is going to, have a steady game like he always does. But I think it's Rashad Bateman's prop is at what, like 30-something yards? 31.5 yards. I think he probably gets that into play. So I like his overs as far as yards. I'm not even going to say Derrick Henry touchdown. That's a given. It was minus 350 right now. That's. But I think he gets there twice. I think that's a possibility. So I like the odds on that. And then the props aren't up for him yet, but Austin Eckler, I think I'll take his catches over, especially if B-Rob doesn't play. I think we're not going to even try and, establish the run game too much, but we're still going to try and move the ball a little bit. And the way that Cliff likes to do that is getting the ball out to his back. So I think that's going to be we're going to try and run through Austin Eckler and get him involved that way.
All right. I like that play. Look, again, if this is one of those games in which the Ravens defense is really good at stopping the run, that you're going to have to put points up on the board. Austin Eckler is going to be out there for time. And I got to say, he wasn't the guy that I necessarily thought could necessarily turn back the clock, but he's come over for you guys and played an important role next to who has also been a spectacular running back to this point, Brian Robinson Jr. Shout out to him, man, coming off of what obviously was a tumultuous rookie year. But this second year, he has taken off on the ground from that aspect, and we'll see what he can do versus which a really tough Ravens run defense, to say the least. So nothing less to get into as far as the game picks and the X Factor is concerned. Manny, I'll let you go ahead and lead us off who you're picking and which X Factor you're going to be looking for on your side to try and get you guys a win.
For the sake of the segment, I already realistically, I think, it's going to be a hard matchup for us for the Ravens. I think this is a game that I'm going to expect us to lose, but for the sake of the segment, I think, it's going to be hard to get us off the field, especially, with the rookie defensive coordinator. I think Cliff has been, calling some pretty good games so far offensively. I think he's going to try and put on a show, make show, that Jaden Daniels is that guy. I think Jaden Daniels is ready too. It's going to be hard to get us off the field. I'm expecting less than 2 punts. So I think we're going to put some points up. I think we're going to have less turnovers too. I'm going to say 31-30, the good guys. And
all right, there you go. Ev, go ahead and hit me with your game picks and your X Factor prediction, man.
I just seen this. I had this feeling too many times. Like, I'm not gonna try to be funny, man. I really hope I'm literally on Monday. I host a show every day, Monday morning, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. When DMac comes in there on Monday, I'm gonna say, DMac, I want to talk to Manny again. And if you come through, Manny, I'm gonna say, Manny, what did I tell you? Like, I'm not even joking, Manny. I'm so serious. But this is gonna be a 10-point game. I'm with you on 31, but that's Ravens. 31-21 for sure. That's right at the line anyway. 52 points, I think that's what the over-under is. 31-21. You guys are definitely going to score points. But you guys are definitely going to punt more than 2 times, I think, in this game. You guys have been one of the best teams in the league. You guys have not been punting a lot. Jay and Daniels have been leading a lot of game scoring, scoring drives, I should say. But again, a lot of that, in my opinion, is when you're able to establish the run game. And I just don't think it's just going to be too established in this game. You guys are going to be a lot of 30-long situations, in my opinion, which you still can't convert at. But I just don't think so. 31-21, I'm rolling with the Ravens. I think this is going to be a phenomenal game. I think the bank is going to be rocking. And if I had it up at 38-28, just to get the Commanders some more points, but I think we're going to score just as much and more. Matter of fact, for the game, I'm looking at Nate Wiggins. I'm looking at 2 players, Nate Wiggins and Manny of Justin. I need impact. He's at a second half this year. But some sacks got called back. He's getting a lot of quarterback pressures. He's being a wrecking ball right there in the middle. I need him to have a big impact on this game, making Jaden Daniels as uncomfortable as possible and get into Brian Robinson and Eckler as much as possible. And then Nate Wiggins. One shout out to Jaden Daniels and Terry. The pairing has been looking damn good over the last 3 weeks. Slow start against Tampa. Can't remember who you played the second game. Want to say New York. Can't remember who your second game was. Was it New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the connection wasn't all the way there. But the last 3 weeks, I think he eclipsed 200 yards, 100 yards, and 2 out of the 3. He's been scoring to get in the end zone as well. So I'm looking at Nate Wiggins. I'm not saying Nate Wiggins is primary target or matchup because I know Terry's going to move around, but he's probably going to see Brandon sometimes. He's going to see Marlon sometimes. He's going to see Nate sometimes. But the reason why I'm saying Nate because Nate's job is to limit DeAndre Brown, who got a nice touchdown, I think, over Emerson last week. We got to stop Luke McCaffrey. Like, if we stop those guys and Terry beat Terry, I'm okay with that. Stop. Limit the run game. Terry's going to be Terry, the phenomenal wide receiver, top 15 in the game. But we had no DeAndre Brown, deep catches. Slow down Luke McCaffrey. Work over the middle with Urson, et cetera. And I think we'll be fine. So 38-28, 31-21. Either way, I'm very confident in a 10-point victory, 10 or more.
Hey, I can't be mad at either one of those predictions. Look, like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of points put up in this game. This is going to be extremely fun to watch. I personally have it 30. I'm leaning 37-34. I am going to lean towards the Ravens. I think that they just have a little bit more answers as far as the defensive side of the ball is concerned. That ultimately,
if we win by 3, I'll be mad. I know the defense ain't. I know the defense ain't what it is, as of right now. But if we win by 3, I'll be mad. I just think there's something.
Hey.
I mean, but hey, look, we're talking about one of the top. They're playing like one of the top. I don't know if they're going to end like one of the top offenses, but they're playing like it right now. And it's not the run game. The run game has been helping a lot, but it's a lot with the receivers too. We're getting Noah Brown back. Diami's he's been stepping up. A lot of people were writing him off, but he's been stepping up too. Luke. He's getting open. As long as Jaden's getting out the pocket, because that pressure is going to come. So as long as he's getting open, he's seeing the pressure, extending plays. I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of. I exaggerated with the less than 2 punts. I was getting ahead of myself, especially with the with B-Rob. Especially if B-Rob doesn't play. There's definitely going to be more than 2 punts. But I'm just going to say that it's going to be hard to get us off the field, because even if we do get in those 3rd and long situations, we've been showing that we can convert those, and then even if it gets to 4th down, 4th and short, we're one of the most aggressive at that and the most efficient at that too. So I think we're going to go for it, man. I think everybody knows what's at stake here. Everybody's going to take the Ravens 6.5 right now. They're going to try and make a statement. So we're going to see what we're going to give them. We're going to see their best. At least I hope. I'll say that. I hope that we'll see their best. I think everybody's going to be prepared for this game.
Yeah, and I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Just one of the 2 of the best offenses in the league. 2 of the best offenses when it comes to converting on 3rd down. You pointed out that point as well. Both teams are over 50% when it comes to that mark. You guys are 8 for 8 on 4th down conversions. So you spoke to you guys being aggressive in that and also converting. Listen, I'm at all when I watch Jaden Daniels play football. I traded for him in fantasy last week. It's a blessing. The ability to throw on a run and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But listen, Lamar Jackson going to show why his levels, and it's going to show why his steps. And I think the Ravens ultimately going to show why talent matters at some point, right? Or skill / talent, same thing. And I think we have more talented, skillful guys on our roster compared to the Commanders. I think everybody will agree with that. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference in this game, where you see a lot of guys making plays for us. Kyle Hamilton making plays for us. Roquan making plays for us. Marlon had a big interception against Cincy. I know he left in a boot. Don't even know his status right now, but if he plays, making plays for us. Marcus Williams is on to a bad start so far this season, in my opinion. John Harbaugh said in the press conference last week he's expecting him to eventually break through. I'm hoping for the same. We gave him a big contract 2 years ago, but him can pop. He can make plays for us. So we have a lot of different guys on our defense that can make plays. Kyle Van Noy up to 5 or 6 sacks on the season, 6 sacks in the season on 5 games. Always at 3.5. So, like I said, I just think too many guys on our team are going to make plays for us. I think it's going to be the biggest separation in the game. You spoke to Bobby and him not being in his prime, but he's still being, effective. Bobby Wagner. And he spoke to Frankie as well. So, I mean, you guys you still have Payne and Allen in the middle, I believe, both of them. So it's going to be tough, but 3, Ravens got to do 4-1, I respect it, but we better win by more than 3. Even if it's 6, I want a 10-point victory. I want to make a statement. And all in all, I think both of these quarterbacks will finish as top 5 quarterback or have top 5 quarterback seasons this season, regardless. Both of them are playing like top 5 quarterback. In my opinion, the top 2 quarterbacks so far to start the year. I think they both remain in the top 5 for sure. So shout out to Jaden Daniels, man. Y'all got one.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Whether it's fantasy or real life, these are absolutely playing like I think as quarterback 1 and 2 to this point in the season. Absolutely excellent. And like Manny specifically alluded to, that they're at 0.75 EPA per play on 3rd and long, which is in the second place team is 0.33. So that tells you how much better they are than the second place team. It's a 0.42 gap. Like, they are absolutely killing it as far as 3rd and long is concerned. So even if the Ravens do their jobs on 1st and 2nd down, it's not going to be the end of the position from that standpoint. But like, that's where Matabuke and Nate Wiggins and Van Noy and Oway, they have to make that impact on those passing downs to not allow them to convert. So, like I said, I'm excited for this game as a football fan. I'm kicking my feet up because we 5-0, so I'm chilling on a bye week watching what's going to end up happening, man. I want to see fireworks between Jay Daniels and Lamar Jackson. But yes, so that's going to be our picks. That's going to be our preview of the game, man. Once again, I want to thank Ev, Mr. Facts and Stats himself. Like you said, daily show, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys tap in every single weekday from that standpoint. Want to thank Manny for coming on over there at Commander Season on Twitter, Commander SZN on Twitter. He's doing his stuff with Stadium Brand HQ as well. Big time writing. And look, come over him. He's going to be having you guys Clipper writing coming up soon because NBA is right around the corner. Make sure you guys tap in with him for that from that standpoint as well. Obviously, you can find me at DMac316 on Twitter. Continue to have Chiefs coverage as well as entire NFL. And, of course, on Win the Day TV, we'll be back this Sunday with our weekly preview show for all of the best bets with me, Sosa, Prop, Spin, of course, going down the marquee matchups. But for Week 6, Max marquee matchup, Commanders or Ravens for Ed, for Manny. Appreciate y'all for coming by, man. Hope you guys enjoy football this week, and I can't wait, man. Peace out.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.